What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bird Flock podcast. It's just Shane and I today. No special guest, nobody to join us today, but we're going to be talking about what's on pretty much every CFL fan's mind this week, and that's free agency.
It's
Um,
stressful, man. I'm stressed.
Dude, especially Als fans, like I am, I'm so stressed. Like
This
I'm
is such
reading
a make it or break it off season with
huge.
Mazzoli coming back at Ottawa, man.
It's huge, and like I'm going like even further. I'm reading conspiracy theories, not conspiracy theories. It's like very possible, like the Owls possibly folding, and like, oh, dude, I'm stressed. Like it's true though. You think about it, and this all ties into free agency, right? Like, do we think that the estate that runs the Alouettes right now, or 75% of the Owls, is going to fork over 250 grand for training camp? Is going to fork over all this money? Like, I don't know what's actually going to happen, and
Also, as
obviously,
a free agent, do you want to come here when you don't
100%.
know what's going to happen?
100%. And like you're seeing it right in free agency. Like I looked at the list of pending free agents and like who's resigned and everything like that. The Argos, the Red Blacks, the Stamps, the Elks, the Lions, and the Bombers have signed like over
Dude,
75%.
Winnipeg went nuts on
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon.
And Toronto went nuts Sunday afternoon too. Like they've signed over like I don't want to say 75%, but like well over 60%.
Like, I don't know if you saw like Adam Bighill, like he tweeted, he's like, okay, I could sleep tonight. Like yesterday, he's like, I could sleep tonight because I know a lot of my boys are running it back.
Exactly. And like we have I have the list here of who the Owls have re-signed. And obviously there's some important names for sure. Like Tyrese Beverett, big name. Wes
Mhm.
Sutton, big name. Chandler Worthy, big name. And then obviously we have Pierre-Luc Caron, who's our long snapper, Fred Chagnon, Reggie Sibasu, who from my understanding is going to have a bigger role in the offense this year, which is good.
Yeah,
Nafis
well,
Lyon,
has
who
to the
yeah,
way that they're making it look out right now.
yeah. I mean, right now he's wide receiver two, right? You
Yeah,
actually think about it, he's wide receiver two behind Phil
yeah,
Pott, which is scary in itself. Nafis Lyon, who stepped in and played really well last year too,
yeah, balled out.
and Raheem Wilson, same thing, midseason
Balled
pickup,
out. Yeah, when
balled
he
out,
came from Calgary, yeah,
yeah,
balled out.
huge pickup. But then there's obviously the list of free agents that are still unsigned. And I did this morning. I put this together this morning. It's a scary list. Like it's a really scary list. And like again, before I get into that, obviously any Owls fan, any CFL fan read the article that Dave Naylor and TSN posted last week, I think, just his interview with Gino.
Hmm.
And Gino was straight up, right? He said the Owls are an absolute shit show right now. The front office is a shit show. And like, how do you think, like, as a free agent, you read the best player on the team, arguably one of the best
The
players in
guy
the
who just
CFL,
finished second in MOP in the CFL.
as a receiver, saying that
Yeah,
about his team? Like, forget re-signing guys. I'm scared to bring anyone in. I don't know if we'll have enough people to field a fucking team.
dude. Like it's just gonna be like a lot of like practice squad guys coming in and like getting reps because like guys are not gonna sign here. Like got big names. Why am I gonna want to sign here as a big name if like let's just say Gino walks out of the door. That's like one of the biggest names in the CFL, not just in Montreal.
Yeah,
And how much the fans loved him and they just let him walk out. Like how's that make anybody feel right there?
literally. And like I don't know what they can do at this point to make it better. Right? They need this week. They need to announce a president. Don't get me started. I think firing Mario was a mistake to begin with, and I think
It just
any
didn't
Owls
make
fan,
sense.
it didn't make sense. I like I've been to Owls games the past 5 years. This past season was by far the best vibe at any Owls game. By
Dude, it
far
was
the most
bumpy. There
seats
was times
sold.
where we were looking at each other like this place was rocking.
Yeah, and like that has a huge part to do with Mario. I don't get why he was let go. Um, and then obviously we love Gary, but Montreal especially, it needs to be owned locally. Like imagine the Habs were owned by a US group or something like that. Like it needs to be owned locally. Like it doesn't make sense to me, but that's a whole other story. And I think there's things we can do to kind of mend the damage in the meanwhile, like bring in a solid president and just have that stability. But I'm gonna go through some of the names here. I'm not listing everyone. I'm listing the big names, but still remain to be signed. Obviously, we have Gino. Obviously, we have Pickett. Obviously, we have Trevor Harris. I'm gonna say those are the big three right now that remain unsigned. But again, these aren't guys that like this isn't our whole list of free agents. These are guys that were day one starters, everyday starters,
That need to be back.
and need to be back. Micah Awe, stepped in at Mike, or I think he was playing Mike, or I know he was playing linebacker, but was huge, huge.
Yeah. Dude,
Mike
it's just
Jones.
like that's what the CFL is, and it's just like guys stepping up like that,
Hmm.
and there's only so many you could let out the door at the same time for it
Yeah,
to not have a damage on your team.
literally. And
And it
I'm gonna
seems like
get into.
Montreal doesn't realize that right now.
I know, and I'm gonna get into a specific position group. Obviously, we know which one, but Micah Alway was huge on defense last year. Mike Jones was huge on defense last year. Dom Davis led the CFL in touchdowns, broke
My
the Al
boy.
single season or tied the Al single season record for
Hmm.
touchdowns. Shane's boy.
It's my
Uh,
dog, man.
Michael Wakefield, again, great. He was great on the D line.
Yeah.
And then
Dude, a D
this
line that
list,
doesn't produce a lot for this team already.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Exactly. And then this list just scares the shit out of me. Obviously,
I
Gino,
don't even want to hear it.
but Keon Julian Grant, Hergy Mayala, Reggie White Jr., Jake Winicki. That's
Dude, we could literally go from having the best receiving core in the CFL
to the
to
worst by a
last.
mile.
Yeah.
By a mile. Like of these names, let's
Reggie
leave.
White, you know what? Let's just cross him off the board here because he got hurt. He tore his
Yeah,
ACL late. He's probably not going to come back until October, anyways.
yeah.
So like, let's just cross him out for now to get one
Look,
name out of the way. Jake, you lose him. He's called TD Jake for a reason. You
yeah,
lose him, you're losing a whole bunch of production. Even though I don't know what happened last year at the beginning of the year, they forgot how to use him, but
yeah.
you still can't let him walk out and not try and replace him. Gino's Gino. We've talked about this for
He's the
forever.
best receiver in the CFL.
Yeah.
Keon
Yeah,
Julian Grant.
Julian Grant, Tyson Philpott wants him back.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to keep your young stars happy too. So, Keon Julian Grant, the screen god, like
But you think about it, Keon Julian Grant was good for 4 or 5 catches a game. Like that's a
literally,
lot of production you're missing out on.
literally. Like he
And
may
then,
not have ever jumped off the screen and gotten like 100 yards, but he's getting you 40 yards consistently, and he's catching the ball when you're throwing it to him.
yeah.
But,
And then
like, what more
Hergy,
can you ask from your like fourth target in the offense?
that's it. And then Hergy. I of this group, he's the most confident. I'm the most confident that Hergy will be back. Just
Yeah,
based
same
strictly on the
here.
fact that he's a Montreal boy.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
And
based
we kind
strictly
of
on
saw him. He had some big games last year when
100%.
they finally decided to give him the ball.
But he was also a big name. Like he kind of got hidden in this offense a little bit behind Gino, Jake, even Tyson Philpott at
That's a
times.
guy. See, like he could step in a role right now and
Hundred
have
percent,
1,000 yard season.
1,000%. And he was good in Calgary too.
Yeah.
Like he was very
He
good.
was a good name coming to Montreal last year
Yeah,
in the offseason.
100%.
He was. I think he was like one of the first guys they signed in the free agency last year.
Yeah. So, like I said, that's a scary list to have. Like, yeah, I don't even
Yeah,
know. Just like,
especially like now that the period is open that other teams could talk to them. You
mhm.
think they would have at least signed one of them by now?
Yeah,
Like these guys definitely. I guarantee you, they all have an offer at this point.
hundred
Like
percent.
may not be four of them, but they at least have one, and it may not be one that they like, but it's still on the table.
But you
Montreal's
don't.
got to
Yeah.
figure it out, man.
But you don't think that all these teams are calling Montreal free agents and not lowballing them, but knowing that they can get him for a
I
cheaper
would.
price? Because I would
Yeah,
too. Because Montreal can't compete with
absolutely.
anything. They can't compete with anything right
No.
now. And like you texted me as a joke before, like I think Machocha's phone's broken, but I think Machocha's hands are really tied with what he can do right
Yeah.
now, just because of every issue that we're kind of facing, and it sucks, and it's putting him in a really bad position. I think he could don't get me wrong. I think
He
two
could
or
find a
three
way
of
out of
these,
it. Yeah.
100%, two, three, four, maybe five of these names need to come off the board before Valentine's Day, before
But
the
even
season.
look at Jason Moss coming in. Like, how does he feel? It's like, I came here and I see all these weapons. I want to come here. I want to coach here.
Yeah,
And then I might not have any of these weapons.
none. Yeah,
Like, I got Philpott, which is sick. That's a great, like,
huge.
starting guy. But then, like, imagine, like, number one receiver in the CFL could leave.
Yeah,
Guy who could lead the CFL in receiving touchdowns every year, and Jake Winicki could leave.
yeah.
Hergy Mayala, who could put up a couple 100 yard games last year, could leave.
Hmm.
Like it might just be like turn around and stand backs getting the ball 35 times a game.
That's what it's shaping up to be, right? And
Even Fletch isn't signed, so it's not
I
like you
know.
have the
Oh,
change
I
of pace
forgot Walter
back right
Fletcher
now.
on that list.
Fletch isn't even signed, man. It's not like the screen
Yeah,
game. I'm not saying that William Stanback can't do it himself, but it's not what he's known for.
No,
And he even said it himself.
I don't think he wants to do it all himself. I think he wants to be that 2-3 headed back with
Yeah.
Just Run and whoever the other guy is, but it's scary, man. And then especially what makes it scary is, like I said before, with the exception of maybe Hamilton, who's been really quiet. Um, every team is re-signing their guys. Like,
Yeah, but Hamilton, I don't know. Hamilton just always finds a way. They're like that team in the East that they could lose all their free agents and they come back better
they always
because
have the
teams
next
just want
guy.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Teams want it. Like players want to go to Hamilton.
yeah. I mean, like we can kind of get into it now in terms of the other teams around the league, but there's been some big signings, right? Like we saw obviously Bo. I didn't think, and that ties
I
back to
didn't think he was
Hamilton.
going to resign, to be
I didn't
honest.
think he
Like
was going to
we had
resign.
this conversation many times, me and you. I thought, the longer it goes, the less likely it is. And then he comes out and he signs a multi-year extension.
Hmm.
What receiver is looking at that saying, I don't want to go there?
Exactly, and like we'll get into it in a bit, but Hamilton has some big name receivers that are free agents as well.
Yeah,
And like you
Tim
said, I
White
don't.
just came out and was a CFL All-Star, and he's a free agent now.
Yeah,
Like,
but again, because there's that stability, right? Like I don't see a world where they don't consider Hamilton to go back. But like all these guys on this list, like Montreal might not even be on their mind. Like I feel like when you come from a team and you have the chance to re-sign, they're always going to be one or two on your preference list unless you have terrible experience. But I can't see how Montreal is a priority for any of these guys right now.
and look at Ottawa right now. Look who their two coordinators are, and look where they came from.
Hmm.
Those guys, if I'm a free agent, you guarantee that Kahari Jones is going to be calling his guys that
100%.
were in his offense. And it's the same thing. Like, I'm sure Pickett's going to get a call for the
100%.
defense. Let's
And then
run.
Ottawa's going to steal all my favorite players like they did with Pat Levels, like they did
The
with
Money Hunter.
Tyrese Bear back in the day too.
Yeah. Money Hunter,
Money
man. I
Hunter.
saw him get re-signed yesterday. I was upset about that. I wanted him to run it back in Montreal, but
Yeah.
dude, it's Ottawa was smart about it. Ottawa saw, listen, Montreal had two good coordinators. They got let go, and
Yep.
Montreal's a good team. And some of these guys are going to want to fly over here. And
Hmm.
it's close. It's a rivalry. It's Jeremiah Mazzoli is it was hurt last year, but when he came out in the first couple of games, he was balling. He was showing that he was the same old Jeremiah Mazzoli.
Yep. So obviously we can talk about the receivers, we can talk about the entire offense all day, but at the end of the day, it comes down to who's throwing them the rock, right?
Dude, yeah, that's another thing.
That's a
Why
huge question
like
mark.
it's your number two. Both your two quarterbacks are not signed right now.
So if I had to put a gun to your head right now and say who is the Al starting quarterback on June, whatever it is, 2023,
Cody Fajardo.
I think we have the same answer. Yeah.
Dude, I think it's like a swap that we're getting, like a Trevor Harris. I saw today that they offered him apparently a multi-year, like very good
Yeah.
contract. Dude, I think it's just a swap. Like Fajardo's comfortable with Moss. Obviously, he didn't have his best year with him this year, but he's comfortable with him. And a lot of teams' quarterbacks are already set, man. Like if Saskatchewan doesn't have a quarterback, they've already said pretty much they're not going back to Fajardo. How
Yeah.
many other places is Fajardo going to have an opportunity to sign if he wants to be a starter? Montreal might just have to be, even if he doesn't like Moss's system,
Yeah.
Montreal might be his only chance to be a starting quarterback,
And
like
honestly,
a lock in a starting quarterback
yeah.
job.
And honestly, I don't hate it at all.
I love
Like
Fajardo.
if you told me we could swap last year at any point, I know he had a rough year, but we could just swap Trevor Harris for Cody
Just the
Fajardo.
running ability adds so much in the offense, man. Like I really like Fajardo. I would not be upset about that at
I
all.
wouldn't be upset at all. So I sent you this theory that I saw this morning, and it makes a lot of sense, right?
All I'm saying though is, like we said before, my boy, if Dommy D's coming in as QB1, I'm the first guy rocking his jersey in the stadium,
Oh
buddy.
yeah,
That's my guy. That's my guy.
damn. But I think you said Farhan Lalji posted this theory, but I think and it makes sense. A lot of the quarterback situation could come down to what McLeod Bethel Thompson does, right? If he goes to the States, then that opens up a second team right now that needs a quarterback right away.
Because
So
that's also another situation, dude. Toronto just won the Grey Cup.
yeah,
If I'm a quarterback, I'm like, yo, I want to go there.
and they re-signed their guys, man. They
Yeah.
re-signed Curly Gittens. They like,
He got paid.
yeah,
He got paid. He got a hefty contract, which is good for him. He's nasty, man.
yeah. But it makes it like, and for Gino, like I know we want him back, but even if the situation in Montreal was perfect, it makes sense for him to wait it out and see what these other guys get
Yeah,
paid,
yeah.
right? Like
First
we
of all,
saw
wait it out
last year.
for their contract and wait it out for the quarterback.
Yeah, 100%. It makes sense. Like that's why I'm like I haven't sounded the alarms just yet. I'm fucking nervous. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean it's still early in the
yeah,
period, but it's coming fast. It's like a week,
yeah. It's a week
and then
tomorrow.
we're here. And I guarantee you, free agency opens and Gino's gonna have eight contracts lined up,
Oh,
ready
he
to
already
sign.
probably does. Like he tweeted yesterday. He said, like, oh shit, you guys didn't tell me he was gonna get this crazy at lunchtime. Like, no shit, he's gonna have 8 offers on the table, and he
Dude, I'm
should have
telling you,
9 from Montreal. I'm sure Montreal's
probably
done
probably got at least one contract that's over 300K.
100%. But back to the quarterback situation, and it makes sense. And I think the ideal scenario, the ideal situation is for Montreal is McLeod Bethel Thompson resigns in Toronto. He comes back to Toronto. Right now, the debate is not whether he wants to play or not. He's playing, but does he want to play in Toronto or does he want to play in the XFL, a backup in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
something along those lines? So Far and Logi posted this theory, and I think it's best case scenario for the Owls, where if McLeod comes back, Trevor Harris goes to Saskatchewan. I think that's a lock either
I
way.
think it's a lock at this point.
Yep. Cody Fajardo comes to Montreal. I think that's borderline a lock either way.
I think the only way that it's not a lock that Trevor Harris goes to Saskatchewan is if Gino signs basically right now and
Yeah.
says, I want you coming back with me. I think that's the only way that it's not a lock that he's going to Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Like if Gino signs in Montreal, it was part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Like and Trevor Harris probably signs
Yeah.
50.
Like he probably calls Trevor and says, I'm about to sign this contract. Let's run
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah. Which again, I would be perfectly okay with.
Yeah. I wouldn't be upset about it.
But and then the X factor in kind of all this is going to be Dane Evans, right? So if McLeod leaves, Dane Evans I could fully see being Toronto's QB1 next year. But then if McLeod comes back, Dane Evans is going to want to go to Toronto. He's going to want to go to somewhere he can compete. And right now, I think the best place for him to compete would be in Montreal against Cody Fajardo. And I think that would just pit them against each other and make.
Which again, there's a reason that they moved on from Mazzoli is because they saw something in Evans and everybody saw something in Evans.
100%.
Just had, again, one bad year. And here we are. But again, if you're going to choose between Bo Levi Mitchell and Dane Evans, you're obviously choosing Bo.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. You put two guys that had a bad year last year against each other in Montreal.
Yeah.
One of them's going to come out on top, and one of them's going to they both are going to bring out the best in each other, and that might be the best scenario for Montreal.
And then you end up with a top 2 or 3 backup in the league.
Yeah.
That's
If someone goes down, you're probably getting a first round pick for at the trade deadline, like they did with Vernon Adams this year.
Exactly. So I want to jump into a little bit of, obviously we want to start getting wishful a little bit and bringing in some of our guys. And obviously what we're about to do is we're going to list off our dream scenario of top 5 guys we bring in on offense, top 5 guys we bring in on defense. Okay. I'm going to speak for myself. And if I were to include Al's players on this list, I think offensively, all 5 would be filled by Al's players.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna operate under the assumption that they're not coming
It's
back.
a whole new, yeah.
It's a whole new regime, and these are 5 guys from other teams that I want to bring in. So we'll start off on the offense. I don't know if you want to go first. We can go one each, but I'll start with number 5.
Yeah.
And we mentioned him just before, and that's Tim White.
Dude, he's gross. I had him on my list. I took him off because to me, it's just he's the same as like Philpott. Philpott could fill that role.
Exactly. So that was my thing. I feel like outside of last year, outside of Philpott, obviously we had Keon Julian Grant, who was that speed threat. And I think we used Tim White in a similar way. Throw him on opposite sides of each other in the slot and have hopefully Gino out wide or something. Or you could play Gino anywhere, but have him opposite Philpott. And I think it's an absolute game changer, right? Like
disgusting.
We would go back to being in the conversation for one of that best receiving cores in the league.
So I had Tim White at my 5, but like I said, and when we talked about it with Philpott, kind of brought up like the whole Debo thing, and I think that's basically what Jordan White is. And I feel like they would use Tim White more in a way than Philpott, and I want to see that progression
From
of Philpott, so that's why I'm going to stay away from him.
Yeah.
At 5 though, dude, I think Jake Wieneke is basically out the door. And I've been saying that for a long time, just the way they used him last year. It didn't seem like he was part of the. So I'm going to go with another jump ball receiver. Kamar Jordan.
Mm,
If you throw it up to that guy, he's coming down with it. Like he's never been a real number one guy, but he could fit perfectly in that touchdown when you need a touchdown big play, throw it up to him and he's coming down with it.
100%.
Uh, his career high is 944 yards, which is good. In only 10 games he did that. Last year he kind of only had 433, so a slow year, but coming in and just being that guy that could stretch the field is and when you're big end zones play to Kamar Jordan's strength, and I think that would be perfect fit in Montreal if Jake walks out that door.
Yeah. And I want to preface this by saying this isn't our list of top five best free agents, right? This is
No,
our list of top five best fits, best for the situation,
yeah.
things like that.
Basically figure out the guys that need to be replaced and replace them with guys that
Exactly. Exactly. So at 4, like I'm used to having, there was maybe a few years where we didn't have like a dominant top 3 receiver in the league. And I don't like it. Like we had SJ, we had Jamel, we have Gino now. And again, I'm operating under the assumption that Gino is leaving. So at 4, I have Kenny Lawler. Okay, he comes in, he instantly fills
he's
Gino's
probably
shoes.
the second best receiver in the
Probably
CFL.
100%. And the only reason I have him at 4 and not 1 is because if he's there at if he signs, Gino's not back, right? And
Yeah.
Gino's my choice between the two. But I have him at 4. He's obviously probably the most talented player on this list, but just based on likelihood of it happening, I have him at 4, and I would love it to happen, but that means Gino's not back. So
Unless they're going all out and
unless Gary brings out the checkbook and goes
the
absolutely
offense is the greatest offense ever assembled. But
100%, like
my 4, we just talked about him before. Cody Fajardo. That's my 4 quarterback, man. He's the best option to me available
yeah,
aside from Trevor Harris in this system. And I guess you could put McLeod Bethel Thompson in, but he's not going to leave Toronto if he stays in the CFL.
yeah.
So Cody Fajardo, I've liked him a lot. I've talked about it in the past years that I like him. Dude, the guy was like an MOP candidate 2 years ago
Mhm.
or 3 years ago. Like that doesn't just fall off after 1 year.
Yeah,
So I think he could get back there.
I agree. At 3, honestly, it's not we're not losing a lot of guys here, but I have an O lineman, and I think it's one of the best O linemen available. That's going to be Joel Figueroa from BC. Um, Comes in, instantly shores up that left tackle position. You can bump Landon Rice out to right tackle or something like that, or
Well,
put
I'm
Joel
pretty sure he
there.
was playing right tackle at some point last year anyway,
Right.
so he's comfortable doing it.
Yeah. And again, he comes in, he's instantly a difference maker on the O line. Again, I don't think our O line was a huge problem last year. They weren't great by any means, but and we're not losing a lot of guys, but I think he comes in and he's instant game changer.
Mm-hmm. My 3, you touched on him, Kenny Lawler at 3. I got him at 3. He, like you said, he would be higher if I was, uh, you know, happy that Gino was leaving.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously not going to be ever happy if Gino walks out that door. So,
Yeah.
Kenny Lawler's obviously the best player to replace Gino if that's what happens. So,
Mhm.
if it should be no debate, you pretty much throw the contract offer you had for Gino that he didn't accept, and you throw it at Lawler.
Yeah. That's how it has to be. Number 2 for me, um, he basically said he's not coming back to Saskatchewan, and it's someone that I really would love the Owls to go after. He announced it like 2 or 3 weeks ago on a podcast. Shaq Evans,
I knew that was coming. I thought he was going to be your one.
dude, I fucking love Shaq Evans. Like and I think it would be a good fit in Montreal. Like for me, he would kind of replace that Jake kind of as the wide receiver 2 in the system if under all assumptions Gino were to come back. And again, just based on possibility, right? The Owls are going to be no matter how which way you cut it. You look at the roster now. The Owls are short receivers. That should be priority. I think number 1 outside of bringing back your guys, but um, it's a very likely situation, right? He said he's not going back to Saskatchewan, and if
He's a
we're
dog.
operating, under the assumption that, and we both agreed that Cody Fajardo will be the Owls quarterback this year, there's obviously a connection there too, and I would
Get him
not be
someone he's
surprised.
comfortable with.
Exactly, and I would not be surprised if they reunite.
At 2, I went to O line here also. I went Justin Lawrence, the center in Toronto. I know we have a center here in Sean Jameson, but Sean Jameson was drafted as a guard. You could kick him back out to guard. Justin Lawrence was just named a CFL All Star. It would be huge to show up that middle of the O line. Like we said, wasn't terrible, wasn't also great. And to me, the only thing we're missing at that point, if we sign him, would just be a left tackle
Yeah,
or right tackle, depending where you're putting.
Landon.
Yeah.
Yeah, And then for me, number one, we spoke about him. Assuming Trevor Harris is out the door, Cody Fajardo is my number one. I think it's going to be a good fit, man. I like the idea of reuniting him with Jason Moss. I don't think they were both thriving in Saskatchewan. I think they both, as a coach
I
and
think
as
it
a
was just a
player,
terrible year in
yeah,
Saskatchewan
it was just a
altogether.
bad year, 100%. And yeah, I like the idea of them reuniting and getting a fresh start in Montreal. And I think Cody Fajardo could be a guy that we see in Montreal for 5+ years at this point.
Yeah, for sure. He's still relatively young, and yeah,
Yeah.
he said he wants to play. He just I'm pretty sure his kid's young. He said like yesterday I read he said I want to play until my son remembers me playing. So
Right.
I don't think he's done anytime soon. My number one, a little hot take, a name I told you you'd be shocked by, Greg Ellingson.
I love it. I was gonna put him like five. I love it.
He's my one because he fits in no matter what happens. If
Yeah,
Gino and Harris are back, he's still my number one guy to go after
I like it.
because he played for Moss twice. 1 year in Ottawa when Moss was the OC before he got the job in Edmonton, and
Mhm.
1 year in Edmonton, put up 1,000 yards in every year when in both those years, and
Yeah,
then played with Trevor Harris for like 7 years
I
and
like it.
basically followed Trevor Harris wherever he went. To me, when Greg Ellingson is fully healthy,
Dude, he's
he's a
top five.
he's a top five, borderline top three receiver in the
Yeah,
CFL. He's disgusting. So
yeah,
you put him and Gino, and he first of all, he's so fast.
yeah.
He spreads the field like crazy. Deep shot, he catches everything you throw to him. Last year he wasn't healthy. He's going to be healthy. He's missed a lot of time. He's going to be healthy this year, I assume, just because his body's going to be right. Greg
Mhm.
Ellingson's my one, no matter what, and he's my number one of all free agents, offense, defense. He's my
Wow,
number one,
wow.
and
That's
I could see it happen. It's just, to me, I could see it perfectly happening.
yeah.
Just the familiarity with Moss.
Hmm. No, I can totally see that happening. I
I
like that.
also wouldn't hate. Well, I would hate because Gino's not here. But let's just say he was the number one receiver.
I wouldn't hate that.
It wouldn't be a
Well,
terrible.
again, yeah, like you said, I would
Yeah,
fucking hate it, but
it wouldn't be a terrible situation.
no, not at all. Not at all. Beautiful. Let's jump to the defense side of the ball. A little bit harder for me because I feel like our defense isn't bad. And I feel like the majority of what needs to be addressed is on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, there's huge gaps to fill at linebacker, especially if Pickett and who played like a
Mm-hmm.
slot Garner kind of linebacker position.
Literally
And
play anywhere.
yeah, he's disgusting. But and Micah Alway. Um, and it also there's not a lot of free agent corners this year at all.
Dude,
There's
I
Gary,
I I struggled.
there was Gary Peters from BC, probably the top corner free agent available, and he got re-signed. So I'm focusing a lot of um, my vision on the inside of the D line and our interior linebackers. So at five, I have Larry Dean.
Oh,
Um, vet,
what a
vet,
spot.
right? Vet presence comes in. I think he's 34 years old,
Yeah.
but comes in for again comes and this is one that I don't hate. Even if Micah always signs, even if Pickett resigns, we still have young linebackers, right? Like Chris Aki he's not young, but he's still like 27, 28 years old. My boy Brian Herlimana, number 0. Again, these are all things that there are players that can learn a lot from Larry Dean. And I would totally not be opposed to it at all.
Before I go here with my five, a guy I feel like we're forgetting is Chris Aki. And I think that if he comes back, I think even if Michael Ali is signed, I think Chris Aki takes his
He
spot
steps
back.
he steps in and he's a day one starter and he's successful at doing it.
So that's why I didn't really put linebacker because I think Montreal's fine. Like even if they just sign one of Pickett or Ali, because
Yeah.
they still have Aki and they still have Bev.
Yeah.
So I put one linebacker on the list, but not I went mostly DB just because of the playoff game against Toronto, and I
That was
have
bad.
nightmares.
Yeah.
So I have two DBs here, but at five, I have a familiar face coming back, running it back. Deontay Evans.
Yeah.
That's also like part of it's like I just want to see him back. I loved watching him play in Montreal, but
Mhm.
dude, the guy's still a dog, man. Like he was the number 2 corner out there in Hamilton this year. He's still a dog. He still got it. Would definitely help. Especially if they lose Mike Jones, would definitely help come in and replace that.
Yeah. Agreed. At 4, another vet that I absolutely love. I love this dude so much. And like You watch him and dude, I if this happens, I would be so happy. On the D line, Sean Lemon,
Oh,
dude,
massive,
massive,
massive.
massive. But it's another one of those guys like that can come in, teach the young guys some things, not about football. Obviously, these guys are all great at football, but about the CFL game mostly. This guy's been in the league, I think, 11 years now. Um,
Bounced around.
but yeah, bounced around a lot, been in a lot of different systems, and I think he could 100% like be a huge influence on the field, but definitely off the field with some of these young guys as well.
Hmm.
So that's why I have him at 4.
Yeah, four. I kind of went back to the well I just went to. Corner from Hamilton, Jamal Roll.
Yeah,
Dude, he's a dog, number one corner out there in Hamilton. He just gets it done. He
yeah,
does what he needs to do. He's reliable. And we definitely missed Greg Reed last year.
that's another free agent too.
And like I don't dude, he like just fell off the face of the earth. Like I don't haven't heard anything about him. So like I don't know if he's gonna be back. I'm gonna go off the basis that he's not coming back.
Like,
So
will he be back
Jamal,
in the CFL? Like,
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like Jamal Roll, even with Mike Jones out there, Jamal Roll would be a huge piece for Montreal to add on that defensive side to help like calm things down with the young guys back there. Also, like you were just saying that Sean Lemon could do.
yeah. At 3 for me, is a little bit not a joke, but if you sign this guy, the Alouettes are basically guaranteed an appearance in the Grey Cup. I think he's been to like 86 straight Grey Cups. Jagarrett Davis, man, it's like it's crazy though. Like, and all jokes aside, he's a great interior defensive lineman. Like,
Oh yeah, dude, imagine him as Amado in there.
I know him and
It's
Mondo in there would
beefy.
be,
It's beefy in there.
yeah, it's very beefy in there. But no, I think he would provide, even if he's just in on second down or whatever it is. I think it would be a huge presence, and it kind of ties back. He's obviously a vet. He's been to the game a bunch before, which I think our current roster, even with how much players in the CFL jump around, um, I think like that experience that he brings. We don't have a lot of guys who have been to the big game, right?
We're a young team, man.
We're a very young team, so I think bringing in someone like that who has all that experience, and obviously just came off a Grey Cup win, that'd be huge.
Yeah, he's definitely I'm spoiler. He's gonna make an appearance on my list. Not right now, but me goes back to the one linebacker I have on this list. Uh, it was a toss up between him and Larry Dean. I went with this guy because he's like significantly younger.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off leading the league in tackles, Darnell Sankey
Yep,
got robbed as a CFL All Star. I
I
don't know
can't believe
how.
that.
It was ridiculous. He would come in. I think he's 28 years old. Would come in middle of the field. You could put Aki out, back on the outside. If you lose Pickett and Owie, you're still good. You have Bev, Sankey, and Aki, and that's still one of the grossest linebacking cores.
Disgusting.
Even losing two of your most important free agents at the position.
Yeah, agreed. Number 2, I'm going with a name that was on your list. Running it back with Ciante Evans. I think just shoring up that secondary with Ciante would be, really crucial. I think, and I don't. Here's where I struggle a little bit because I don't hate the DBs we have on the
They're just
roster.
young.
They're young, and I hate what happened in Toronto, but I don't hate the roster at all. So that's why I'm not too DB heavy here. Um, but I think bringing him back would be huge, especially if we lose Mike Jones or Greg Reed doesn't come back or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But no, I
That's
think
why, like,
either way,
I put two corners on my list, but one guy would not be mad if he got a bigger role is Najee, man. I think Najee's going to be a dog. Yeah, I think he's already a dog. I think he's going to be a dog.
yeah,
So, like, if they go in with him as a number one corner, I'm not that upset about it
I don't hate it
because
at
I
all.
think he's gonna just he's like one of those guys that like flourishes when the pressure's on. I feel.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
My two.
Yeah,
You had him at your three, Jagarrett, man.
yeah.
Look, the Owls were third to last in sacks in the CFL last year. Only had two more sacks than the last place team. They need sacks, and it's harder to find guys come up in the D tackle position that could get pressure on the quarterback. And he finished top 10 in sacks. Putting a guy in there takes pressure off JD to have to be such an elite pass rusher for the Alouettes. And by doing that, it's just going to make him a better pass rusher. because you're taking away double teams and chip blocks more often from JD,
Yeah.
and that increases Montreal sacks, even if Ja'Gared Davis doesn't come back and get the same sack count that he had this year.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I love that signing so much. It's mostly to let
And
JD,
it's a lock. We're going to Hamilton for the Grey
and it's a
Cup.
lock, and it's a lock. My number one, he last year he became one of my favorite defensive players in the NFL. He was second
CFO.
behind Sankey in tackles. Javon
CFO.
Santos Knox from
Oh, he's a
Hamilton.
dog.
He is an absolute dog.
He's different.
Yeah. Played at UMass, and he's still young, right? I think he's 26 or 27, maybe 27, 28, but he's
But
still
they
young.
even when they signed him to this contract, it was like crazy that they gave him this contract because he hadn't established. But everybody was like, he's like, this is a contract he's gonna earn.
He's going to grow into. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I think he comes in and he shores up the middle of that field for us, right? Like he like you don't need to worry about like Chris Aki or whoever on the outside. Like let them handle business, and then like Santos Knox will hold down the middle. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would be so happy. And again, this is that like we don't need this to happen, but like with Awe and Pickett potentially not re-signing, I'm thrilled with Aki, Santos Knox, and Bev at
Mm-hmm.
linebacker. I think that's a killer trio.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's my number one. I would love and toss up between him and Cody Fajardo, but I think Santos Knox might be my favorite potential free agent signing. But
Really.
I have this terrible gut feeling he just re-signs in Hamilton.
My one, you talked about him before. I had him actually on my number two, right behind Ellingson for like my top five completed. Sean Lemon, you had him at your five. I got him at one. Dude, guy finished second in the league in sacks last year, finished with 14. That's another guy, bro. You put him on one side, JD on the other side, two
Yeah.
dogs going after the quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was probably finish top two in sacks with those two guys on the other side. Uh, it would be sick, man. Just pin your ears back and get after it. And that's another thing. Like I said, the sacks, we didn't have a lot of them, and that's what led to the DBs having to cover for too long
Mm-hmm.
and making them look
There
bad.
was no pass rush in that Toronto
Yeah,
game.
and making them look bad. So if you can't get a premier corner and you want to ride with the young guys, which I said I'm fine with, go get another guy, a sack artist that'll help them not have to cover for 5+ seconds.
Yeah. Oh man. So those are our top fives. And we're gonna end off the show today by giving you guys someone who we think is guaranteed to walk out the door, and someone we think is guaranteed to be a new friend. That's what we'll call the free agent signings, our new friends. So let's start off with guaranteed to leave. And this is going to hurt. And I don't know if it's because we got season tickets this year. This is our first year having season tickets, and we grew like extra attached to these players. But
Mm-hmm.
there's not a player that I want to see leave. Like there is not a player at all that I want to see leave. Like
Any
I
name I
love
see
this
signs
roster.
with another team is gonna hurt.
Yeah, 100%. So Shane, I'll let you go first because start off with someone who you think is guaranteed to leave.
Okay, well, I put two because the first name I put, I think it was kind of like a cheating situation. So I gave two. The
Okay.
first one is Reggie White, and that's the one I see is kind of like a cheating thing because, like I said earlier in this episode, I think he's just not going to get a contract
Yeah.
until late in the season because he's probably going to miss the whole season.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's my cheat. I don't even want to say this name, man.
I
It
know who it
hurts,
is.
and it goes back to Ottawa and what they're doing, and they're going to poach some free agents. And I think Pickett's walking out that
Oh,
door. And I'm very upset, and it hurts me to say. And I wish I hope the next time we come on and we're talking, that Pickett's still here. I hope I'm wrong about this. I've never wanted to be more wrong in my life. It's just something, it's a gut feeling, man.
that one hurts.
Yeah.
Hey, Kenny Pickett, friend of the show, messaged us on Instagram this morning. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
I think,
Dude, I saw him text us. I was like, damn, I'm doing him dirty.
dude, I honestly think Kenny Pickett, based on the lists
Or
I'm
Darius
seeing,
Pickett.
Kenny Pickett, Jesus Christ, Darius Pickett, my bad.
I mean, I'll take Kenny Pickett. He could come play
Yeah,
Q for the offs.
no, but Darius Pickett, I'm seeing him ranked amongst free agents anywhere from like 16 to 30. Based on his age and how he played last year, I don't see how he's not a top 10 free agent this year.
Dude,
I
what
think
other
they are
linebacker can return kicks?
A linebacker that returns kicks. I honestly think though he is the most underrated free agent in this entire.
Dude, even what he like does off, not off the field, but yo, like in the kickoffs, like he's the first guy dancing to the music. Like he just
Yeah,
loves playing ball, man.
yeah,
Like that
he
would be
loves
such a huge, huge loss.
100%.
Like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I'm like praying I'm wrong.
I hope I'm wrong with this one too, but unfortunately, I got an email this morning, and it said 2023 CFL script
Is this
leaked.
the one you said I was gonna be upset about?
Yeah, but
Oh,
the script is leaked. They leaked the script. I don't know what to tell you. Like this is happening. It's guaranteed. I don't know if the email was sent to me by accident, but this is not because I want him to go whatsoever. But this is because I think he can go somewhere else and take on a larger role and potentially be a number one. Um, and the email just said this. Just had this picture. For those of you listening, the picture is Walter Fletcher. Fletch came in last year when Stanback got hurt and was exhilarating,
electric.
electric.
I
And
like fell in love with watching Walter Fletcher play football.
and the thing is, he played too well. He stepped in and he filled that role way too well. And he is gonna he's gonna go somewhere where he can get 15 touches a game. I really think, and I
I'm
hate
so
that
upset.
I
I'm
hate
so
that I
upset
even
right now.
I know, and I hate that I had to put it, but
Oh,
like
you knew that one was gonna hurt me.
yeah, I did. And again,
Oh,
it's nothing against Fletch. If Fletch wants to run it back with stand back and just run, I will be so fucking excited.
dude, if
But
Fletch runs it back, I might be in the jersey shop, bro.
I know I'm waiting right now. I'm waiting to decide which jersey to get.
It's like if both of them running back, it's Dommy D. He's getting my money. And if he doesn't run it back, but Fletch does, Fletch is getting my money.
So mine is if Gino runs it back, I gotta lock in the Gino. If Gino
Yeah.
doesn't run it back, I'm rolling with a friend of the show, Tyson Philpott jersey.
Yeah, we
Just
had conversations. I thought about it too, but I was like, I
yeah.
can't double down, bro.
All right. Now, time to make new friends. Shaner.
I'm
Who
gonna let you go first here.
you're gonna let me go first? So
My mind's kind of crazy.
this was a two-part script, or two-part email, and I got the script actually for who's coming in. And I've never been more confident in something in my entire life. And I'm honestly shocked, given the situation in Montreal, given who our GM is, that this hasn't happened already. So kind of ties into Fletch leaving. And joining us in Montreal is going to be our
Say,
boy, go, our boy Sean Thomas Erlington from Hamilton, Montreal Carabin legend, friend of Danny Mac for sure. And
it
he
just
would
shows
be
how crazy the CFL is, man. The guy gets hurt and he just loses his job as if he wasn't like the best running back that like half season he was playing.
right. Like
Him and Sandback would be so unfair.
him and Stanback would be the beefiest, meanest backfield
They could
ever.
both run for 1,000.
100%. 100%. Like, and I'm so confident that it's going to happen too. Like, you're
That's
telling me Danny doesn't want to
big.
reunite with a Montreal boy?
Wow.
Come on.
That's good, man. I'd still be upset that Fletch is gone, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Let's hear it.
Okay, my name is definitely nowhere as big as what you're doing. It's just, dude, I'm like you said, I'm surprised it hasn't already happened. And he's gonna come in. He's not gonna be a
I
starter
know
in
who you're
Montreal.
saying too.
What?
I know who you're saying. Does he play for Ottawa?
Yeah,
He does.
he's gonna come in. It's gonna be Antoine Pruneau, man.
Yep.
You just see it. Like it's long overdue. Like you said, Danny Mac, bro. Like
Yep.
he's gonna get it done. He loves his Montreal boys, loves his little Quebecois. So
Yep.
he's coming in. He's gonna sit behind Dequa and get some playing time, special teams, come in as an extra linebacker type of thing. And I think it's a lock. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he's the first name that they announced that they signed from another team.
Agreed. 100%. Like, but dude, it's actually awesome to think about the history of like unreal Quebecois safeties that have played for the Owls. Boulay to Bruyette to
It
Hoka.
also doesn't hurt you if Duquois goes down, you have another Canadian safety. You just fit right in. You don't have to find another Canadian player to put elsewhere.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely a lock.
Yeah,
100% a lock.
I saw his name and I was like, hammer. If they're betting odds on Pruno signing with the Als,
It's -600.
send them to me and I'm hammering it.
Yeah. Anyways, Shayner, this does it for.
Dude, I'm not over that Fletch pick. He
I know.
broke my heart. How am I going to continue with my day right now?
I know. But this does it for the free agent episode. Hopefully, we meet next week, same time, same place, and we're so wrong about everything.
And Walter Fletcher sitting on here with us.
And Walter Fletcher sitting on here with us. Gino, we've already interviewed because he re-signed a 13-year contract in Montreal. Pickett joins us and whatever. I don't know. But I pray we're wrong. But it's going to be an exciting time.
I pray we're right on some of the new faces, but the ones leaving, I pray we're wrong. Man.
Anyways, guys, we thank you as always for listening. Thank you as always for blowing up the social media lately. It's been awesome to see. And yeah, we'll be back this week with some other crazy guests, some really exciting guests, some legends too. Not just current players.
Got some fire episodes locked in right now.
Yeah, we got some crazy stuff locked in, but stay tuned and thank you guys again. All right, we're running it back really quickly. We just ended the call, checked our phones. First of all, Sean Thomas Erlington, I'm sorry. Not happening. Guaranteed to come in. I don't have a backup. I'm going to go with Antoine Pruneau. I think that's a lock too. But in more important news, boys, Julian Grant.
Julian Grant's back.
Baby.
Fired. Got his boy.
Yes, sir. So my list is all fucked now. Tim White, sorry, you're staying in Hamilton. You're not coming. We have Keon.
No. You could go out west, bro. Get out of the East Division.
But anyways, wanted to hop back on, get our live reactions to Keon's re-signing and Sean Thomas Erlington re-signing. But all right, bye for real now.